Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the seventh round of the final week of the Nocturnal Prospect Cup. Two games coming your way, brought to you by myself, Big Hungry Phil, and my very talented co-caster, LaFon. LaFon, good evening. How's it going? What have we got to look forward to?
Well, good afternoon to you as well,
Afternoon.
Phil. I mean, it's evening for you, so we're going to go back and forth with the pleasantries in our respective time zones. But we are going to get into the games in just a moment. And up first, we have, as you mentioned, Regen versus Vanquish. And this is a very interesting one. Off the top, of course, we have Regen, who are first in their group here in the Western Division of the Prospect Cup. Meanwhile, Vanquish trying to break that tie for second place. And, heading into this, Regen is definitely the team to beat.
That's right, currently sitting at that 6-0 record in the Western Division. I was just scanning down the numbers, wondering if there was a situation where Vanquish maybe dropped down to fourth position, and I don't think that's likely, looking at who's playing who left in the bracket today. Dojo currently sitting at fourth, and they just can't do enough at this point to beat the overall score or the map differential. So it is just between that second and third seeding in the group. But when we come to look and compare these two teams, LaFon, I feel a little bit like Vanquish maybe have the harder task here today. They're sitting at the 5-1 scoreline compared to Regen's 6-0, and one of those is as the result of a forfeit. Do you think really that this is going to be as close a game as you were maybe predicting at the start?
This is a tough one to call because there is something to highlight. And the one loss that Vanquish had was against the team that they're fighting for in second place, actually in Lunaris. And, Regen did go up against Lunaris earlier in the bracket on stream, if I believe, earlier last week. And Lunaris, dropped that one 3-1. Regen looking pretty confident there. So certainly Vanquish, with a 3-2 loss against Lunaris, if you consider that a back and forth affair, so to speak, then obviously you would say that Regen has the upper hand here simply by the statistics we have available to us. Obviously, though, that was from games from last week, and teams can improve. So is there an element here of Vanquish coming back in and being competitive? There is a possibility, absolutely. But make no mistake, Regen is definitely the favorite here in this matchup, and by a healthy margin.
Quite right. Of course, we're still playing in a relatively stable meta compared to last week. We have had a patch in between last week's games and this week's games, but it didn't really add much by way of balance. I believe it was just adding cosmetics to the game. So, a lot of continuity from this week to last week. So it's going to be down to whether or not these guys have put in the scrim time to actually work and develop their play style, knowing that they were playing Regen in this final round today for that seeding into the playoff brackets. So it's going to be down to, again, who's done the homework here, I think.
Certainly. And I mean, this last week has been pretty good for that tier 3, tier 2-ish, barrier, if you will, in the sense that these teams have gotten a lot of playtime. Obviously, Prospect Cup, which these guys have been a part of, but also Contenders Trials happening last week. So there certainly has been a ton of footage on players and teams and metas and sort of this game style that wants to be played out here. And so I think expectations here are that we're going to see something pretty stable, as you highlighted, but it should be a little bit more refined as well, having had time for these players to practice and get used to it. Busan, of course, is the starting ground here for our match. Regen versus Vanquish. Regen will be obviously in blue, Vanquish in red. Phil, we are starting off on Mecha Base.
That's right, Mecha Base. I'm kind of expecting that we'll see the Genji poke, the double shield meta that we've seen be pretty prevalent here. Are there any wrinkles on Mecha Base that might see us see something different?
You can sort of see the May, but the teleport is going to open up. The people will come through Genji Ash as expected.
That's right, and it looks like we're going for a little bit of an opposite rotation here. Regen coming out behind the point, and Vanquish taking the aggressive hold on the bridge. Can't quite connect with that Halt Rock combo onto Vanquish, but we're just going to see them exchange spam for now, certainly at least until the point unlocks, and they really want to sink their teeth into this first fight. You see Cool ABC looking for an angle here. Finds a little bit of body damage, but not finding anything too important just yet. TNT over onto Tragedy. We'll start to see some ult charge pickup for Cool ABC, but Tragedy is currently winning that race, but in a dangerous position now, taking a bit of damage. However, whilst that was going on in the back, Chopper's able to find one and Cool ABC with the second. Regen with a quick 3 kills on the board, sees them with a sizable numbers advantage here, and unless Vanquish can pop back in a big way, it's unlikely to go much further for.
Yeah, that is the full reset. And the bridge is pretty useful in the sense that it gives you better damage potential, right? You're funneling through a smaller area, so you have less room to miss, so to speak. But it also means that your avenues of attack are also limited. You can only go in a certain way, whereas obviously Regen, they have more to work with, more space to work with. On this next reset, the Baptiste ultimate is going to be out for both, but I say the high ground is going to have definitely the advantage here. You're going to be able to poke through and get value in, and Chopper looking for that assassination. Not going to get it, but he will build the blade and bring it online.
Yeah, this is going to be really difficult for Vanquish to push through. They kind of want this one aborted fight. Well, they're trying to go for things with the amplification matrix up first. Won't see too much out of that as Chopper's able to get in and find the quad. Ship Magic Mate Ball, steal the 6 from him, but that's good value from a blade.
It certainly is. And I mean, you know, the dueling amplification matrices, it's actually the one on the high ground, as we said, gets a little bit more value. You don't have to push out through it as our team in Vanquish did. So now it's going to be the reset, the rotation from the far left. Diny has the blade online now, though. It's going to be certainly much more difficult with the amplification matrix available.
It's going to be cool. ABC pulls the trigger on this one first, sending Bob into the fight, adding a bit of pressure, bit of space control. No kills on the back of that just yet. And here's Dini with the blade through the amplification matrix. The flux comes up and isolates him away from the team. Tragedy sees an angle to throw the Bob into the point, but he goes wide right into the back, not in position to do too much. But between the crossfire of Bob and Tragedy himself, is going to be Ship going down, and Vanquish with a cap at 80% for Regen.
Yeah, the Immortality Field, they're unable to really keep Regen alive for a significant portion of time, and the Gravitic Flux does not get a kill. Great peel for the Genji, who was in the air. And the Dragon Blade, yes, it does not get any final blows, but so much pressure. And now only the Supercharger available here now for Regen coming in. They're going to have some damage, but you're going into a mirror, Supercharger. And with that pickoff here, I mean, this is just a reset for Regen.
Yeah, man, it looks like Vanquish have decided to press the advantage that little bit. Will throw the flux in here. They just want to secure this team fight. They want to climb their way up because it is last fight territory for Regen. Regen need to win one here and they can take the point.
That is going to buy them about 20% Vanquish in terms of point percentage. The only question I have there is, are they going to want that one back in this next fight? And I think it's going to come down to, is this amplification matrix from Otter is going to be good enough to shut down this push? And if it's not, then no.
Oh, that's big. Amp goes down, but Dini is no longer there to gain the additional value that it had to throw in. With the Amp Matrix now out from CJ, all the damage of the world is piled into Vanquish, and that is it. They are looking tattered now as Regen look for the retake.
And that, man, you wish you had that Gravitic Flux there at the end. You should have been able to take that fight vanilla without the use of ultimates. Perhaps then you had the resources to shut down that aggressive push. An excellent body block from Lavant, his own Supercharger, denies the destruction. That damage throughput helps win out the fight. Now Chopper has the blade, and they're going to have Bob and Rally online in just a moment.
This could be a dangerous fight for Chopper. And he's down already as Tragedy finds him. Orders over again lava, and Dini is fishing for more value with the blade. Can't find it, buys a huge amount of space though, and it is already 2 picks in favor of Vanquish as Dini is still looking for dash resets.
What a greedy play.
Point has flipped.
What a greedy play from Regen. They allow the point to flip, yes, but also Chopper is looking for aggressive pickoffs and instead gets picked off. And now here in last fight territory, you're trying to fight into a rally. On the point, you're going to have both DPS ultimates, and you should be able to get your Gravitic Flux online, rather. But if Early Bird could put the pressure on fast, then this rally could be the game saver here for the defense.
Like Cool ABC's taking a slightly unconventional angle up through the vent, secures the Bob onto the point to start that contest going, as Chopper starts to do the busy work on the high ground. Finds 2 with the blade. Nej not going to be able to complete the flux, but will find Chopper. Tragedy punches back here, but this is still looking incredibly scrappy for both teams. There's the flip, 99 to 99, as Ship secures one more kill with the Gravitic Flux, and it's now down to try to keep this contest going that little bit longer for Vanquish. Nobody left alive, and that is going to be 0.1 secured for Regen.
Regen, even though they do take that 100 to 99, having a couple of fragments of weakness in that round, I think giving up pressure when they didn't need to, and we have to highlight that we're talking about Regen as being the best team in this group, being 6-0 through their series, and perhaps just a shaky start. So round 2 will perhaps be a little bit cleaner from them, or it should be expected to, as I think, again, Chopper and Cool ABC, doing some work, but Chopper trying to find a little too much aggression and at times gets punished for it.
there's maybe a little bit of a common trait with certain DPS players of assuming that once their ultimate is up, they are invincible. Sadly, not always the case, and honestly, pulling out a sword, screaming in Japanese and glowing slightly is probably a really good way to attract a lot of attention your way, Lafon.
Certainly is, as we get headed to Shrine, or Sanctuary, actually.
I always get those mixed up, I wouldn't worry about it. Looks like we've got a bit of an earlier trip to point here for Regen using the sim, so they've got a better defensive position here as Vanquish storm their way down the stairs. Regen going to back up for now and try and use some of those longer sight lines to find an advantage. No sense holding the point just yet as it's not quite unlocked.
Interestingly, Tragedy's here on the Soldier, and I do not agree with this pick because he just doesn't have the damage throughput that Regen does.
That's right, slow and steady damage coming out from Tragedy. He's putting in body blows, but he's yet to find the knockout. Takes a huge amount of damage himself and has to back his way out of it. Cool ABC has a much burstier playstyle here on the Ashe. Can secure kills that a little bit quicker. Ship now toe-to-toe with his opposite number, and Regen looking for that first cap.
Tragedy was not insignificant in that fight in terms of the damage throughput he was providing on the Soldier, but, I mean, without the burst potential of the 2-tap, you just aren't going to get kills, and I'm not sure I agree with the Soldier pick. Unless you can get a flank off here and get value, you're really putting your team at a disadvantage. And, you know, speaking of, he's going to go down here. Another 15% going to be taken away on the point here for Regen as they start to build up. You know, close to that blade, close to that first fight win, or the second fight win, rather, with the resources that they need. And Tragedy is starting from 0 as he's switching over to the Ashe here.
But better now than later on in the fight. Chopper's looking for the first couple of picks here with the blade. Will take down the supercharger, and everybody kind of makes themselves scarce. Chopper will find one. Only one of that blade. Did the body damage there for Cool ABC to find the pick. Tactical reset there from Nej, and Regen once more holding on as we hit the 50% mark.
And not a very expensive fight either, right? You trade amplification matrices. Again, CJ and Otter's keeping about pace with each other, but with Chopper using the blade, you're going to have this next fight. You know, Danny just gets up to his first blade. You still have to deal with the Bob, and that's going to be a problem. That's going to help it out as Tragedy takes down Cool ABC, but, I mean, you still have a lot to work on here.
Well, Chopper's taking a bit of pressure. Dini getting that pressure as well. Now has to try and work his way through the rally armor of the Brig. Will receive the rock. Flux now to try and counter the Dragon Blade, but it's not going to be enough. Dini's able to find Lava, gets the dash reset onto ship. Nej rotates back to point, and that is it. Looks like Flipsville here for Vanquish.
The saving grace here for Vanquish is that Cool ABC goes down on a very early pick from Tragedy, so in the vanilla gameplay, the Ashe coming out on top here for Vanquish. But the other thing is that Ship and Lava combined get 0 kills out of their alt combo, right? Gravitic Flux and Supercharger get nothing, and instead it's Nesh who gets a little bit more value. So Vanquish getting some room there, and Crank actually gonna have the Supercharger here. This is gonna be tough to push in if you're Regen. I would expect to dump both DPS ults here and just try and burst through the damage throughput of Vanquish.
But of course, they're going to have to deal with the amplification matrix first. Might not have come out in the most optimal position. A lot of that taken up by the geometry of the point. Struggling to find value from it. Immortality field now down as well. Chopper's waiting for it to fall. In comes the halt. Out comes the sword. Down go Vanquish as Regen just cut their way through it. They're going to lose Chopper here, but it looks like they've done enough to flip this back.
And yeah, I mean, you're forced to use the amplification matrix in a very inopportune position. And as I highlighted, they use both DPS ultimates to Regen to, again, just isolate the throughput. Now in the last fight, you're pushing into this amplification matrix. Oh boy, no one's even gonna touch.
What a rock! And Nez just gets deleted from the game. They will tag on to get overtime going, but they are falling like flies here. Vanquish Regen, they've got the numbers advantage, they've got the point presence, they've got it to 99%. Just got to take the Lucio out of the equation, and that is looking to be a cap here on Busan, and the potential here for an early 1-point lead in the series. Nej desperately trying to keep this going, but too little too late as Regen take the map.
Yeah, that's a much closer, much more aggressive, much more one-sided affair for Regen in that round, Phil, as they, take control of the point, and outside that one fight where they get no value from both tank ultimates, it's all Regen on down, or on Shrine, rather, on that second round. Here we're seeing Chopper. The Genji, I think, just faster to Dragon Blade overall. Chopper was able to just get a lot more value in that round on the Genji, and as a result, helps Regen push their way to that first map win.
Kind of strange when you think how little we've seen of Genji over the past year. in competitive play to get to a point where having the better Genji can be what decides the way the entire map goes at this point. And, just those little edges of one extra kill on a blade, 10 seconds ahead of your opposing Genji able to get the ultimate online is really what is dictating how some of these fights go.
I think one of the most interesting things to me too is that beyond that part that you mentioned, which is absolutely correct, there's also the aspect of there's a different variation of way players or teams are playing the Genji. Some teams will use the Genji to just remove cooldowns from the opposing team, right? Okay, so we're going to use the Dragon Blade in response. The Supercharger is going to be committed, and so that'll be a trade we accept, right? What's happening here, though, is between Regen and Vanquish, both squads, what they're electing to do is to go in the fight with the other ultimates, and once they're offline, that's when the Dragon Blade activates. So they're using the Dragon Blade as a as a method of completing the fight rather than starting it. And I think that's an interesting philosophical discussion to be had. And so far for Regen, it's working pretty well.
That's right. Well, looks like we're about ready to get our next map loaded in, and it is going to be a hybrid map, and we're looking to see Hollywood here. So Hollywood, I think, another map that probably lends itself quite well to the Genji poke, both on attack and defense. Any particular wrinkles you're maybe expecting to see here that we wouldn't see on other maps, or is it going to be that par for the course, Lafon?
I think it is going to be par for the course. It's not, you may be able to see a rush comp played out, but that's like a stretch at best. Seeing the poke is probably almost certainly what's going to happen here. Is you consider Hollywood is one of those interesting maps where I think over time it's been such a standard map in the sense that we haven't seen a lot of it, so when we do see it, it tends to be what teams have practiced overall, just because they're more used to it. But also, it's such a vanilla map in the way you approach fights. There's nothing too surprising about it. There's very set rotations, there's very set fight engagements. There's nothing particularly spectacular about how you approach Hollywood. So it makes for very consistent gameplay, but not necessarily the most dynamic moment to moment engagements. And I think so for Hollywood to see anything other than the double, the Genji Ash poke would be very surprising.
There was a brief second there, Lafon, where I was looking at what Regen were putting out here, and they just had Lava for a second, looking like he was leaving Spawn on the Zarya, and I was getting ready to have another interesting wrinkle to talk about, but no, you're quite right. Back onto the double shield, Genji poke, no surprises. Honestly, looking at what Vanquish have, wouldn't surprise me to see this coming out. I don't know if I buy the possibility of an Echo coming out here.
I mean, there is the high ground you can kind of work with, right? The little archway that's over the top. But, I mean, it's tough to make Echo work against the Ashe is the biggest thing. Ashe and Baptiste, too, both of them are, hit scans. So the Echo is a big target in the air and very vulnerable to that kind of gameplay. So, yeah, nothing surprising here. That first fight going to open up on Hollywood as the poke comes in. Cool ABC with a pretty decent dynamite to just delay that first push.
He had a huge amount of ult charge on the back of that one as well, even without the pocket mercy that we're going to see Tragedy coming through in the form of early bird. A lot of pressure put onto Cool ABC as he has to back out. He will get out mostly safely, and it's going to be Dini up onto the high ground here, looking for value, very quickly farming his way to that blade, and it is my missed call here. It's actually going to be the pocket onto the Genji to farm this blade ASAP. Otis is able to find magic mate ball, and this is looking like it has the potential here for a very early cap for Vanquish on their offensive push. And Dini already has the blade. Cool ABC's down, and they've crumbled. This defense just did not happen for Regen.
There was a small moment where that fight could have broken, right? In that the Brigitte, she'd been able to stun up. If Magic Mateball had been able to stun up the Genji on his entry, then this could have all ended in a different story entirely. But instead, Dini gets in the backline, and that damage amplification is so valuable for the Mercy, or for the Genji rather, as he builds his blade. Dini is ahead by a good 50% on Chopper.
This is unfortunate spawns here for Vanquish. Sorry for Regen. Vanquish are able to completely press the advantage here. Regen is just going to have to stop and regroup and give over a fair amount of cart progress.
That's a pretty decent situation. Now, this is also the high ground going to be taken. Chopper has to be very careful.
Ooh, just gets the health pack very nearly taken out of that one. Closing in on having the blade, but he's got to get it quick to say wants to put the hole on this car really before it hits the path waypoint. There's the amplification matrix to start, and Bob for good measure as well. But Tragedy on the high ground is able to find Chopper. Cool ABC down, and the bomb from Tragedy was the bigger factor in that fight. Finds 2, Shift will get 1, but that is it. It's too little, too late once again, and Vanquish looking rejuvenated right now.
And frankly, there's no real response to the Mercy play that is coming, the Mercy pick that's coming through here for Vanquish. Regen was not expecting a fight to go that early on to first. They give up that space. And then on second, the high ground contest, they have to deal with the one-shots that is afforded to Tragedy, and they just have no way of exiting. Vanquish going to make some switches over. Cool ABC here on the Tracer now.
Dini closing in on another Dragon Blade. Chopper just a scant few percent behind him. We'll see the rock come through and interrupt that, but Dini's going to find one. It's down to Chopper now to find the additional value, finding two, opening things up as CJ takes Nej down, and finally, Regen put the brakes on the cards.
That was a really good retake there by Regen. It all starts with Cool ABC burning the supercharger that denies the damage amplification for the entirety of Vanquish, and then it's a better Dragon Blade after the immortality field is bursted through. Regen finding their value. Nej actually commits the Gravitic Flux at the end of that fight here, so Regen has the advantage now in the sense that Chip is going to have the Gravitic Flux online, both tank ultimates available, and they'll have the sustain of the rally in this fight.
We're going to see the Flux coming out first, able to dodge the rock. Won't complete with too much damage, but Chopper finds the opening pick there. It's 5v6 with a supercharger in the mix. Rick swinging away with that 50% damage boost, and CJ getting in on the action. Another good hold here. It cost them 3 ults though, so might not have been the most economical fight.
Most importantly, though, they didn't have to use the rally coming into this next one. So timings are going to be difficult here for Vanquish to kind of deal with. If they can't get this Bob into a position to provide a crossfire, then this rally can really be a game changer. Cool ABC also, if he can get a pick off with this Pulse Bomb, well, he won't. But if he could have, this could have been a different story entirely.
I mean, a headshot from a standard Ashe is going to take your Tracer out of the fight. With the damage boost, it's a body shot and a bit extra, and she's gone. Here is the double man advantage with above on the field. Cool ABC is going to be back in this fairly quickly with a Pulse Bomb ready to go. But Chopper now has an opportunity here to open things up. Has the blade one more time, and early bird cannot fly out of the line of fire of that blade. Chopper looking for the third, won't find it, but the rest of the team can capitalize on the damage, and another hold here for Regen.
And the pickup was not important enough as Cool ABC came back in time, and I said it, that Bob was not in a correct position. The rally would help him sustain. The crossfire was not enough to break through the rally, and obviously the Dragon Blade from Chopper at the end helps close it out. This next fight here, though, is the area where Vanquish could possibly open it all up. They're going to have 4 of their 6 ultimates here online. Cool ABC needs to find a hero play here with this Pulse Bomb.
I think they know where he is right now. In fact, that's kind of amazing that Nej didn't look directly at him. Does some work with the pistols, looking for the second, waiting for the kinetic grass to go down. Doesn't need the Pulse Bomb, finds the pick, but it's Sigma for Sigma. And now the rest of Regen start to crumble. Looks like we've got both a man and an ult advantage here for Vanquish. Regen are going to get another bite at this one, but it's going to be a difficult task.
It's going to be a contest. If they do even choose to take this contest, it's going to be a limited one. And as a result, no, they're actually going to give up the point. A smart play here. They're going to take that first fight on the early phase of third. 2.5 minutes remaining. Not a whole heck of a lot of time left here, actually, for Vanquish.
Good work on the body bag of point number 2 to deal with the fact that point A was less than successful for them. And we're going to see ults committed now by Regen as the Flux comes through. He's able to use the wall to get around out of the way of any incoming damage that might have interrupted that. And a very clean retake here by Regen.
And the only thing they really used that was important was the Gravitic Flux, as Cool ABC is going to farm out that Pulse Bomb very swiftly. And they denied some resources from the offense there. Vanquish going to make a switch over here to the Brigitte now as the Mercy's not getting as much value. We're actually going to the Widowmaker. Interesting.
ABC in the back, drawing attention. Lava's Advan Odders and Tragedy is now up on the high ground, but is shooting into the immortality field. Can't find the picks on it just yet. Still has beautiful angles, but can't find a way to make them work. As Chopper gets the first pick here. Nej being pressured back even through the rock. Regen, they don't need much to make that work. No ults needed, and another fight win.
Very, very clean fight retake, actually, from Regen yet again. The rally, the only thing that had to be used to kind of contend with that push. Cool ABC gonna try and hit that high ground camp to get that Pulse Bomb off. He's a little bit delayed from the fight, but that's okay. He'll be back in no time. Switch actually for Tragedy onto the McCree.
Legacy on the high ground. Looking to try and pressure down that immortality field before throwing in this Pulse Bomb. Watch for the drop of the rewind. sees the target, might be able to do this just with the pistols, finds Tragedy. Chopper's got the blade online, but it's going to be Cool ABC in the kill feed. And Chopper overstayed his welcome a little bit, but Otter's going to go down, and that's going to be another hold here. Less than a minute on the clock now, LaFon, not looking great for Vanquish.
No, and Cool ABC has been making this Tracer work in close. You're going to see Tragedy make his third swap in as many fights. He goes over to the Torbjorn here. A desperation effort to try and deal with a Genji Tracer, but Cool ABC has been running riot in the backline. And again, still has the Pulse Bomb.
Tragedy scrabbling for answers here, and it may be too little, too late. There's the Pulse Bomb. Immortality Field comes out to save them, but there's a lot of body damage done there. Immortality Field doesn't keep you at full health, and a Flux and a Blade in over the top might be able to do this. Of course, it's going to be Dini coming out with the Blade first, is able to find Lava. Get the Flux here as well, but we are now into overtime. Even if they win this fight here, they've got a lot of work to do to keep this going right the way through to the end. They're still dealing with the rally. This is just going to see Regen staggered out here for their final fight.
This last fight is going to be as close to vanilla as we're going to get in quite some time. Both amplification matrices will be online, but as you highlighted, I mean, this next fight is key. Obviously, if the defense wins it, then the round is over. But if the offense takes this, there is actually no contest available. So this is going to be the last fight of this round, no matter what. And with Chopper going down, it's going to be a late retake here from Regen.
We're going to see dueling amplification matrices coming out in the not-too-distant future. It's the only thing currently online, unless, of course, Cool ABC can farm a Pulse Bomb and find somewhere particularly painful to stash it onto the enemy team. There it is. It gets the stick, but it's the Immortality Field. It's now down to the rest of Regen to try and find the damage in over the top to make that work, but it might be a little bit slow on the uptake on that one. Going to see Dini and Chopper both desperately trying to farm this Blade. It's going to be Dini that comes out first as the Magic 8 Ball goes down. We lose Chopper here as well. This is looking good for an overtime cap here for Vanquish as CJ is knocked out of the fight. Supercharged down for good measure as the payload rolls into the box.
Well, ABC does a good job of forcing the Immortality Field, but Regen just unable to get value out of that, out of the advantage, right? The later Immortality Field actually ends up losing out as DD is the first one to get the Blade online, and with the Supercharger just gets more damage throughput. They're able to shut down that push. So Cool ABC doing a lot of work for his team, but his team in that last fight unable to close it out. And now, I mean, they have to complete the map. And if they want to prevent Vanquish from getting a second run at this, they'll have to capture with more than a minute remaining.
Quite right. And I think a lot of what we saw for Regen on the defense here was just being caught completely unawares on point A by the fact that Early Bird was just adding that additional damage in, particularly to Dini, helping them farm the Blade incredibly quickly and get the picks. So Regen need to have as blisteringly fast a point A and not lose all that time that they lost for Vanquish on point B. So it still feels like a difficult task here because Vanquish have looked very present in this map.
Yeah, I think this has been a better map for Vanquish overall, and yes, it's their map pick, so that certainly helps. You have obviously the Mercy Pocket pick coming out, making it look pretty well practiced, pretty easy unlocked for point A. Certainly, you'd hope. The one thing though is that they get gummed up on second pretty easily. Vanquish do, right? So there's still room for Regen to provide a pretty decent time bank. I think it all again depends on how well they can get past this first point.
That's right. Well, Vanquish looking kind of a spotty, maybe. Some moments of brilliance, some moments of not so brilliance. Regen looking pretty consistent all through this. Let's see how that looks as they make their way into the point. Alt accretion combo not quite going to connect there, but still some consistent body damage in. And Tragedy taking a bit of a dink into the side there. Has to retreat off the low ground and give up that advantageous position. Big TNT there for Cool ABC. Already at 54% and climbing for the Bob ultimate, and able to get the pick here onto Quake. Dini needs to get a pushback here incredibly quickly, but it's just not going to happen. And this is looking to be a blisteringly fast cap here for Regen, maybe even quicker than we saw for Vanquish.
Regen just grinds it out. They get that, I mean, Cool ABC gets a little bit more value from the default shots and the TNT, and then as Vanquish try and push forward through to just take away the advantage that Regen is slowly building, Quake actually walks outside of the Immortality Field and gets taken down. And without the Orisa, you're slowly going to start losing a little bit faster and a little bit faster still. And Regen takes that point A and have set themselves up in a pretty decent position to take this next fight as well. Dragon Blade online, Amplification Matrix as well. And I think the go button is going to be called right here.
Amplification matrices procced at exactly the same time there. There's going to be advantage now for Shipper, the only one to find a kill through that so far. CJ with the second, Bleed online, slashing away, finds the third, up onto the high ground. We'll see Tragedy caught on the low ground, taken out of it, and a forward position being taken out from Chopper, ready for this next fight.
Regen, though, is not in the same position that Vanquish was on their first attack, right? Is that in that there is going to be a real contest here for the defense, and they'll have the tools to actually get out and make an accomplished hold here. 4 ultimates going to be online, Supercharger not long to follow, and it all depends on how aggressively Regen takes this next fight. Expect an early start with the Supercharger.
Going to be an early start on the Supercharger from Lava, and Bob committed now from both sides. Chopper with the first pick. Equalized nice and quick there as Kubel ABC is taken down. In fact, an incredibly tradey fight here, and the Bob from Tragedy starting to find some real value. Vanquish may have found some space on the point here, but Magic 8 Ball has a bead here onto Tragedy, and Tragedy goes down. Big numbers advantage now for Regen as Magic 8 Ball comes back in to deal with this opposite number, and a lot of ultimates thrown at this fight from both teams, and Regen come out on top with a massive timeout coming into this.
And they may actually get stagger picks here. Oh, Magic 8 Ball needs to stay alive. As Vanquish are being allowed to leave spawn. No, they're not. There we go.
There we go. They just have to wait for Magic 8 Ball to recover from being on fire.
A rather deadly scenario. You know, fire isn't usually very healthy for you. Now, though, this is...
tend to advise against it.
Well, 9 out of 10 anyway. I'm not sure what that 10th person's doing. Heading into this next engagement, though, we're looking at what can Regen Vanquish what they can do to kind of slow the bleeding here, because 5 minutes nearly on the clock here, as, again, Regen just need to finish with more than a minute remaining to prevent another attack. There's the Amplification Matrix out early, and they get the first pick off to top it all.
Ooh, Lava right through that, finds the pick onto Nez. Chopper with the Dragon Blade away in the back, finds the triple. And this is looking absolutely dire for Vanquish. One more scrappy recontest here for them.
If they can get out and contest, they actually have the ults to work with here. They have stuff to kind of complete the fight, but they need someone to touch.
Vanquish.
No one!
Oh, they pull him off! Wow, he was just a little bit too slow. Nej couldn't get the contest going. And now Regen, they've got 4 minutes and 21 seconds to make this work with LaFon.
Breaking last fight from Vanquish is they had 4 ultimates in their bank. Tragedy, Quake, Early Bird, Otters all had tools coming online. In fact, we actually heard at the end of that round there, the Amplification Matrix going to be committed, but they were unable to get to the point. They were unable to, get any sort of fight going. And that is a heartbreaking one to finish out on. You have so many tools to complete the map, complete the fight, and you just are unable to use any of them. Great, though, positioning from Regen to prevent that contest. And, it's a tough place to be. If you're Nej, you don't have a real contest available on the Wrecking Ball, and that's the round. And now, Regen have put themselves nearly at match point. 4 minutes, 21 seconds to get 1/3 of point A. Certainly, it feels like an insurmountable mountain to climb here for the defense.
It's going to be very difficult for them to make anything happen here, because I kind of feel like if you're Regen, you can kind of just sit and spawn, wait for your ults to tick up passively, walk in, or press Q at the same time, and you've got a pretty good chance of taking the point if your blade has the additional value that we've seen Chopper have over some of Dini's blades. So Vanquish have got to do something pretty phenomenal here to make this work.
And consider how quickly that first fight was taken that last time too, right? Like that was literally a 30-second fight from, or a minute fight from Regen on the first go around. So certainly going to be a tough ask here. High ground contest yet again. Tragedy needs to kind of shut down Cool ABC here.
Well, we're going to see
good deny on the TNT.
Yeah, actually, that was really good. No value out of that at all. Going to be missing still an early Bob charge. Cool ABC still able to find a line into them. Shields currently look to be offline for Vanquish, so they can't interrupt much of that damage coming through. Now onto the low ground to keep this contest going a little bit longer. Looks like we're going to see maybe a rotation up onto the high ground there. Yeah, there's Ship up on the high ground now, has a beautiful line through, can rain in damage more or less uncontested here, but Vanquish is starting to find the picks here, but Magic 8 Ball and Lava both offline. Cool ABC is going to find a couple, but he doesn't have the numbers here to... Oh, I take it back! Cool ABC with the third. This is looking really unfortunate now for Vanquish. Respawn advantage is so heavily in favor of Regen here that even with these picks, it's not looking great for them.
Cool ABC gets himself on a flank and finds 3 final blows. Regen is sincerely considering, I think, a retake here, but They're waiting for their last respawn. Again, the Orisa is the last one to die, and she's very slow on the re-entry. That's going to force the Amplification Matrix early to dissuade the repush. That means that, honestly, Regen will have advantage in this next fight simply because they'll be able to come in with the Amplification Matrix, and there's nowhere for Vanquish to run.
Nowhere at all too high as the Amplification Matrix comes up. Dini's going to be looking for some phenomenal value with this blade. Chopper 2 on the hunt will find one, and the rest of the team find those not caught in the path of the blade. The last member of Vanquish down, and it looks upon like we're going to match point 2-0 for Regen.
Regen so dominant there. I mean, it all starts with cool ABC getting on a flank and getting completely ignored by the entirety of Vanquish until it is too little, too late. And by that point, I mean, the map is essentially all over.
What do you think it is, LeVon? What's the key difference maker here? Break it down for somebody like me whose only notable skill at Overwatch is being able to talk quickly about it. Like, what's the key difference between these two teams?
The one thing that's really happening here is that Regen just having so much more pressure. I mean, look at how early the high ground rotation is being forced from Vanquish. Vanquish has to drop the high ground almost immediately on every one of these fights, and their ult economy, I mean, when you're on that high ground, your ult percentage should be at least 10% higher than your counterpart on the low ground, because it's harder to shoot to the high ground, it's harder to get value on that sort of engagement. And instead, it's actually the low ground team that's getting so much more value in Regen's case, because Vanquish is just not confirming on that advantage. And after that, they give up the high ground, they take the 1v1 brawl. And by that point, it's too little too late, because you're disadvantaged in Dragon Blade, you're disadvantaged in Bob percentage, and Regen has had the number all map long.
And if you are routinely losing the mirror matchup, which unfortunately is what we've seen largely for Regen and Vanquish, a couple of swaps here and there, do you persist in trying to run it, or do you think, have we got another look here? We saw in Contenders EU some value being had with sort of a heavy dive and a Sombra. Is there any scope here for Vanquish to pull something like that out on the final map and force an upset onto Regen?
I think it depends which map on Escort we go to. On the first two maps, I don't think there really was an option to do that. We saw on Busan, the double shield is going to be so valuable there. We have seen dive in the past, but I think from the way Vanquish has been approaching these angles, I don't think it's there for them. They're a little too slow on getting to that entry frag. They're not really on the same page getting to the backline, so I don't think dive would have worked for them on that first map. And the second map on Hollywood is very difficult to run dive, at least in the current patch, due to how the high ground contest is available to the defense and how much escape potential they have. So I don't think there is a dive on the first two maps. On third, we're going to head to Junkertown here for Escort for our third map, and I dare say dive is even less viable here at the current moment. There's perhaps you can try and force a longer fight game, try and force longer and longer engagements, and then try and take a win versus, by brute forcing them down over time. That's possible, but certainly a tall order. I think dive is out of the question here. The thing I have for Vanquish is that in the 1v1, right, in the mirror matchup, I don't think they're that far behind Regen. I think they're just a little too slow, right? They're engaging a little too slowly. They're taking the rotations a little too slowly. And as a result, you get that 1 extra second. And sometimes in Overwatch, that's all you need to get a full advantage in a fight, right? It buys Cool ABC time to get a headshot. It buys time for that immortality field to come out. It buys time, to get the Fortify online so you get back into the fight a little bit faster. So for Vanquish, if they can play just a little bit faster, a little bit more efficiently with their cooldowns, then they can be right back in this series. They're not far away from Regen, despite what the scoreline might suggest. Look at the attack run they had on Hollywood. I think they're neck and neck. It's just that as time goes on, those seconds add up, and what 1 second becomes eventually towards the end becomes a minute, and then on Hollywood, 4 minutes at the very end.
It's a thing that I touched on a little bit during that last map, is that Vanquish have been having some genuinely fantastic moments, but they're just occurring with less frequency than what we're seeing from Regen. So we know that Vanquish absolutely have the skills to take this to Regen because we've seen them do it. And I think what you're saying about pressure and acting on initiative is a big part of what we're seeing here. So here, as we move into Junkertown, here's hoping that Vanquish have found the dials to turn up to really start to put a bit more pressure on Regen, because this is match point. Regen win this one, and that is it. They're going to take this one and secure that place in, I believe that's second or third place.
Regen has secured themselves first now. Even with a loss here, it'll be 6-1, right? But that's looking not very likely. So a 7-0 is entirely possible for Regen here, and they would be undefeated in their group. heading with that perfect run towards the end. Of course, they have to go through this map first, and with it being Vanquish's pick, are we going to see any more pocket picks like we did on Hollywood? Is that a possibility on the offense? Certainly is. I mean, they're hovering over the Mercy now. So, I mean, if you can get in position, get that snowball, get that first ultimate, and then commit that to fight wins, then there's still possibility here. Cool ABC on the Widowmaker. Going to send Quake right back to spawn to get a reset.
probably not the target you really wanted to land the headshot onto the Orisa, but it still buys you a lot of ult charge. And Chopper has a line onto the Ana in the back. Will take a bit of a dink on the way out, but no harm, no foul on that one. Gets out unscathed, and Cool ABC is going to win that sniper duel. That's a little bit of a range advantage here on the Widowmaker. Might be a little bit unfair, but, you know, it is what it is. It's their map choice. We'll see the Tragedy brought back into this fight already. One of the advantages of having Mercy on board for that one. And Chopper's just going to be making a nuisance of himself here in the back. Not too much value just yet, though.
Yeah, the one difference in this comp is that the Genji, once he gets Blade, will get so much value with the double pocket. But Chopper gets the first pick off.
Oh, big sleep though. Chopper in a lot of trouble, but finds the dash reset, gets the third. What a play. Chopper comes out of that with 10 HP, and he looked like he was about to get slept into oblivion.
That Ana's worst nightmare. You sleep a target, you're like, target sleeping, don't wake. Oh, they're already killing my entire team. And Chopper gets full value with that pickoff, and that should have been a confirmed kill on that sleep. We're gonna see Tragedy switch over to the Widowmaker now, but I mean, it's hero play time for Tragedy because you're going against an Infrasight here you're just at a disadvantage at the start of this fight.
That's a 10-second, okay, I guess I'm not sniping anytime soon window. Once that Infrasight is up, Chopper takes the nade to the face. Have to retreat back to the safety of the rest of the team for now. Dini is closing in on this Dragon Blade, has been doing that little bit more work with Chopper, and Chopper is now down, and it brings the Dragon Blade online. Dini's got a great opening hit. There is nothing to shut him down other than this amplification matrix, which he's just going to be able to path his way around. Dini takes a lot of damage here, wants to get into the back and deal with Cool ABC. Procs the Dragon Blade, gets the dash reset back, and now is going to be chasing CJ. All of this Dragon Blade going into just trying to take CJ down. Will get the pick, but maybe not the value you wanted out of that Dragon Blade. As Chopper rejoins the fight and starts to find picks. Magic Mateball separated away from the rest of the team. He's in a position now to keep ship alive that little bit longer. Chopper brings out the blade, takes Nej down, and that's going to be the end of the hold here for Regen.
That's a tale of two Dragon Blades there, as even with the nano boost goes in the backline, it just cannot catch up to CJ. I mean, great play by the Baptiste there for Regen to use the moon boots to get out of danger, but even still, that's just going to signal a switch. And, you know, we're seeing Nej on the Wrecking Ball, we're seeing Dini on the Doomfist. They need to find something, and instead, nothing is going to be the name of the game.
Rough for Dini, the Doomfinder pathing is so predictable that Cool ABC was just able to pick him out of the air.
Also, this is really disastrous now for Vanquish, because Regen, Cool ABC has all the sightlines he wants. There's no one holding him in check anymore. Wow.
Rally and Supercharger. Tragedy able to find Cool ABC here with the Helix Rocket. Chopper causing trouble. Will find one, and a kill with a Venom 9 there for Cool ABC. Wasn't even alive in the fight. Chip looking to try and round things out here. Throws Quink down to the floor, but can't do enough damage to take him out of it with a Fortify in effect. And this is looking much better now for Vanquish, with a couple of swaps in the last few seconds of the fight to keep this going. Magic Mateball will have the rally here, but looking like he might not have the teammates alive to really make this worth his while.
And they're going to commit to this. They think they can win this fight, and with people at full HP, I'm willing to agree with them.
Oh, the blade online for Chopper, finds the dash through Tragedy, and he's down. 10 seconds and under left on the clock. Nej not in a position here to recontest at full health. Gonna have to tag it anyway. We see the hero play from Quake in on the Winston just to keep that contest going. Lava back on a Wrecking Ball of their own as Dini is focused down. CJ with the double. All of the mobility down. Chopper with a dash through. Finds early bird, and that is it. Not even a point, a cap here for Vanquish. And Regen, if they play their cards right, they're looking at an early trip back home.
CJ with the skeet shooting at the end of the round. He's got the amplification matrix, and this lava sets him up with the pile driver. They're all stuck in the air, and it's an easy two-piece for the Baptiste to end the round out. And, I mean, what a good retake from Regen, but Vanquish. I mean, they're looking at the end of their series on their map pick, and it's barely the barely completion of point A is all that's required here for Regen. With how dominant they've been on their offenses so far, it's a pretty easy guess to make as to how this series closes out.
You know, you're looking at what you can try and do to bring out the fuller hold here, and you start thinking maybe some of the niche comps you get, like a pocketed Bastion, double shield. And I just think Regen have demonstrated that they know exactly what to do. They know exactly where to put the pressure to take about pretty much anything Vanquish have thrown at them. But it seems like we are getting, I don't even know what you would call this comp. I mean, I've got an idea what you'd call the tank line, but I'm not going to call it that in polite company.
I can't make the joke.
No,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry, everyone. I can't make that joke.
Everybody knows the joke. It's fine. It's implied.
Oh no, not the joke about the comp is called, about something else. But
okay. Cool. Well,
the
after the match, I'm interested.
But heading out to this, I mean, this is just a spam composition. You're hoping to just burn something down, anything, perhaps get some fun while you're at it. This is gonna be tough. I mean, and it's gonna be a left side flank here. All the spam's gonna escape. All the people are gonna escape the room without taking any of that spam damage. Goodbye, Quaint.
Yeah, Quaint. A little bit too close for comfort. Turret's down. Oh, hello. Playing underneath the Junkrat there. Gets the refresh and the dash through. And Dini goes down. Chopper on the high ground. Nothing can really match up to this guy right now.
Lucio's trying to make a nuisance of himself, but Otters is going to go down in a moment. There it is. And now this is just an absolute disaster of a round here for Vanquish.
I mean, look, if you Vanquish, you know that you're not working out in the mirror matchup. Maybe try something new here, but I just don't think this is the one. You'd love to have Dini with a little more ult charge towards Tyre here, maybe, but they've got one more go at salvaging this series.
I mean, well, Otters gets a final blow into Magic 8 Ball, so there is still some room to work with here.
Oh, Dini. Dini denied. This is it. Tragedy's going to be looking to come back here on the Bastion, as Quaint tries to keep this going that little bit longer, but there's a lot of pressure headed his way. There's the Bastion on the point, ready to try and take possession of the cart. Has a huge amount of damage, but isn't being given the opportunity to swap into turret mode. Lava's able to take him down. It becomes Clay Pigeon shooting, and Bastion is that Clay Pigeon. This is not looking great. One last few meters on the cart to go. Recontest starting to come through here for Vanquish. Kills coming through, but the recontest here I think is way too strong for Regen, especially as Cool APC takes the Wrecking Ball out of the equation, and Regen manage a very clean looking 3-0 here before.
And Junkertown, even with the spectacular compositional choice that was made on defense by Vanquish, was not able to slow them down one bit. They're going to take that 3-0 in Dial. I mean, this highlight here is a little flashiness from Chopper.
Oh, this was such a fun thing to watch. Like, you thought I was asleep, you thought I was dead. Incorrect. Watch me wake up and survive with 10 health whilst taking out 2 of you. I mean, I think a lot of this series has been dictated by just how good Chopper has been on the Genji, frankly. A phenomenal play from this guy.
Credit to his tanks for giving me enough space to work, but you have to do something with that space, and he does so. So Chopper definitely doing a great job in this set, and all of Regen really being fantastic and dynamic in their gameplay here. And they will, as a result, take that perfect bracket here in the round robin part of the Western Prospect Cup as they complete their run 7-0 here, Phil, as they complete the win against Vanquish 3-0.
That's right, 7 and bagel for Regen. Vanquish, they're likely to finish in 2nd or 3rd place. We've got to wait and see how the other maps in this division work out before we quite figure that out. They're still guaranteed to be coming through to the playoffs, but that seeding still very much to be played for. Unfortunately, that is that portion of today's broadcast over and done with. Regen and Vanquish done for now, but we do have one more match even, coming your way. We're going to see Avoided next, who have been having a similarly stellar run through the Eastern bracket. I think currently also sitting at 6-0. So this could be another really interesting to match, given what we know about Avoided. But Lafon, whilst we wait to get those guys into lobby, we are going to throw to a quick break. But guys watching out there at home, don't go too far because we're going to be right back.